Howdy, y'all. So today, I woke up and I went to my YouTube feed, and there was on my YouTube feed news, there was a video that said, the title was Uncertain That Red or Processed Meat Can Cause Heart Disease, research. So, we have to click on that to look at the research, the new research, because we live a vegan diet. Alright, so...
Can we just start by saying that, I don't know, the title itself, just the fact that research is, on the side.
Oh, yes.
It just seems like a little keyword that doesn't really pertain to what's actually happening in it.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yes, we'll get into this. But so I watched the video and I watched the video and I wanted to see the research that the video was talking about. Funny enough, the research wasn't posted with the video, so I actually posted a comment that said, post a link to the research so it can easily be seen, please. Because, if you're gonna talk about something, you might as well let people see it easily so they can make their own judgment off of it. So I feel like that was kind of a weird flag, number one. But we'll go on and we'll read this new research. So basically, there actually isn't no new research, and they're actually just gathering panels of people to look at already made research and what they would do based on this research. And so there's just some interesting points that I really liked that I want to cover over. So the quotations, they say, considerations of environmental impacts or animal welfare do not bear on the recommendations. So I think it's important it's just kind of funny,
Yeah, because, especially today, environmental impact is something we really need to think about.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that you can't, animals don't exist, meat does not exist in a vacuum. There are animals that it has to come from. There's the environment that it impacts. And just the fact that this thing is taking it all out of consideration just seems really irresponsible.
Who cares about the environment? Just we don't need the environment. We can live without the environment, right?
We can, float around with no air. Okay.
Yeah. I think, yeah. Yep. Okay. And, I think the greatest line in this research is that they start a whole entire paragraph with, in consultation with an expert librarian. Now, this is precious because I think that would be okay to say in the paper if you were in kindergarten, but, we've both been to universities or colleges, and, and through high school, even, middle school, they're going to tell you, yo, kid, just don't even have that in the paper. Just take it out. Your paper's better out without it,
I mean, the fact that there's no name itself is really fishy,
mm-hmm.
and it's also, what constitutes an expert librarian?
Mm-hmm.
If they're saying, oh, this is a doctor who studied this specific thing, that's really, okay, you have credibility. But this is a nameless person who, honestly, could just be, I don't know, working at a school library. What does it mean to be an expert librarian? Yeah.
I made the joke earlier that, the only librarian that I would take seriously if it was a librarian from the archives and Star Wars, because that's, a super official library, but I don't know if that exists yet, But that's a joke still. But another funny point, well, it kind of goes back to the other points before, but in quotations they say, finally, the panel focused exclusively on health outcomes associated with meat and did not consider animal welfare and environmental issues. So once again, taken together, these observations warrant a weak recommendation to continue current levels of red meat and processed meat consumption. So when I read this and I had to go over it again because I had to really understand what I was trying to say. I think the main thing that gets me is they say the word weak. It warrants a weak recommendation to continue current levels. So there is a recommendation to current levels or not, what we don't know what this really means.
And also the fact that it just says the panel seems really vague. I want to know, who are these people? Are they people who have PhD doctorates?
Yeah.
Just the fact that things are so vague in it is a really big red flag for me. Like someone who has read multiple, like when you do like research work, you want to have these credible names, and the fact that they don't have like credible names, like not even any names, is really a red flag for me in how reputable this is. And it really seems more like they're trying to hide something than actually give real information.
Yeah, like if you turn this paper into a professor, they would be like, where's the research?
Where's your sources?
Where's the sources? Alright, so that was kind of just going back to the same topic as before, but they go on to say is, the panel judged that although for some people in some circumstances, issues of cost, acceptability, feasibility, and equity may be relevant, these issues were not major considerations in their judgments. And this is really laughable because all these issues should be major considerations in everyone's judgments. I think the main one is feasibility. So the problem is there's like research that shows that factory farming is increasing and more animals are getting slaughtered, and this is a problem because this is the number one causation of greenhouse emissions, which affect our ozone layer, which affect climate change. So it's not really feasible for us to continue eating meat and not reducing it, because then we won't have an environment. But I guess it's okay because, like before, we don't need an environment, right? And the other one is the cost. It's funny because it's going to cost a lot less to actually like go on a vegan diet than eat meat. And acceptability, unfortunately, it is acceptable in a lot of places to eat meat, but
yeah, I think cost for me is like the biggest word there, because it's like we're not just talking about money, we're talking about the impacts of massive CAFOs,
There's a lot of costs that aren't even money costs.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like, it doesn't even bring up the science of, like, the environmental impact of giant concentrated farming areas. But there's a lot of impacts.
Yeah. So, and then at the end, they say, so three of the 14 panel members favored a weak recommendation in favor of decreasing red meat. So once again, we have the word weak. So that kind of, I had to read it over a few times, but if we just take the word weak out, just this weird adjective, it says 3 of 14 panel members favor a recommendation in favor of decreasing red meat. I don't know where they're getting this word weak from. Maybe they are getting it because only 3 of the 14 are saying to reduce red meat, or they're saying like you should reduce it a little bit, but it's funny how the title of the video is uncertain that red or processed meat can cause heart disease research, but I think this whole paper, not even research, just highlights what is true in the world today, where majority of people won't reduce their meat intake. And there are all of these information. There is information out there, but yeah, sure, like I feel like that's pretty good. 3 of 14 are saying to reduce meat intake. I feel like, you can find research from years ago saying like maybe like only 1% of the whole earth is like vegan. So
I also want to know what the rest of the 11 people said. Because I feel like leaving it out leaves a lot of confusion for the reader. Like, okay, well, like, is there something that this is like trying to take away from? Like, is there something that it's specifically not saying for a purpose? Because I do feel like there's a lot of word choices in here, or like lack of information, that it might be a tactic to kind of hide something or cover something, which I think as readers we need to be aware of this. And I do feel like a lot of with like news media consumption today, people are really drawn to headlines and they don't take the time to read through it and really think, okay, is this a credible resource or not? And reading through this, it doesn't have the same credibility to me as a lot of research did that I read about the impacts of red meat consumption, about how like it impacts health negatively. And the fact that there are multiple resources from like credible things with credible names on it, linking the impacts between red meat consumption and like environmental environmental impacts as well as health impacts, that this one thing that doesn't really have a lot of meat behind it, that's an odd choice of word, it's not enough for me as a reader to think that this is enough to overturn all the research already done. Because for me, there's not really a research here, it's all opinion, it seems. Because I think you're going to bring this topic up later, but just the fact that they're not really like experts here. There was even the backlash against this article was multiple people saying like this is irresponsible, like the Harvard
and Stanford scientists
are
saying are already against this.
And that's a great
name. Yeah, and I haven't heard when I hear Harvard and Stanford, that's I think of the really elite establishments, and I've never heard of Dalhousie before. I don't know how to say it right, so I mean, and last quote that they say that I want to go over is kind of the last one I kind of want to wrap it up with. I'll wrap it up also, but they say, in terms of how to interpret our weak recommendation, it indicates that the panel believed that for the majority of individuals, the desirable effects, and this is in parentheses, the desirable effects, which are potential lowered risk of cancer and cardiometabolic outcomes, end of parentheses, associated with reducing meat consumption probably do not outweigh the undesirable effects, which the undesirable effects, in parentheses, are the impact of the quality of life, the burden of modifying cultural and personal meal preparation and eating habits. Man, that's a pretty hard, man. The weak recommendations reflects the panel's awareness that values and preferences differ wildly, and that as a result, a minority of fully informed individuals will choose to reduce meat consumption.
Can you just take a moment to think about what that's actually saying?
Yeah, it's pretty funny. But yeah, it goes back to what we were saying. That there is a minority right now of people that agree that we should reduce meat, and that is really bad for our future, because we need to have a sustainable future, and this is only sustainable if people do switch to a vegan diet. Albert Einstein back in the day said that in for us to live as a society, to live on this earth, we will all have to switch to a vegetarian diet, and no one has done that. And unfortunately, there's scientists that say we only have 15 years to reverse the bad effects of which we have done. So we really need to be pushing the vegan diet on everyone. Or we at least, at first step, reduce the consumption of meat, guys. But it's funny because, I don't know, it's just saying, like, it's true. So they're saying if you lower, it's like they know if you lower your meat consumption, you will have lower risk of cancer and cardiometabolic outcomes. But they're saying that most people would rather not have that because their impact of life will go down, their quality of life will go down, which that's so debatable. I would feel like your quality of life is actually going to go up if you reduce your meat intake.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think that if you change your diet into something that's healthier for your body's going to be feeling better. We have been meatless for quite a while, and I can tell you with certainty that it has not reduced our quality of living.
Yeah, definitely.
I actually gut health is so much better. When I eat something, I feel I know that me eating this isn't going to have a horrible impact on the environment.
Mm-hmm.
So, in my opinion, that's opinion when it says that it's going to decrease your quality of living, because personally, I think going meatless has improved my happiness, improved my quality of living.
Yeah, it's saying that people would prefer to, be lazy and eat what they want normally because they don't want to have meal preparations and they don't want to change their eating habits, and they would rather do that than have a potential lowered risk of cancer and cardio metabolic outcomes associated with reducing meat consumptions. So,
and it's also like you can just take steps. Like
yeah,
I started out just like taking off one meat at a time, and it's just like you can grow accustomed to it. It doesn't have to be like, all right, everybody, you have to be vegan right away. It's just like making conscious decisions to like make sure that the environment, like noticing the environmental impact and the personal health impact of what you eat, and taking steps to make sure that it's a sustainable thing for both you and the world.
exactly. And I think we've harped on this enough. Like we can joke about this for a long time. But yeah.
Honestly, like just read it
and
notice how it's not as credible as maybe people are trying to make it seem.
Yeah. Remember the title uncertain that red or processed meat can cause heart disease research. Truth, or not truth, they're. I don't know, but that title just doesn't match with what they're actually showing.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yep.
Do your research.